Hello friends, have you heard of PEMF or Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Technology? I want to tell you a little bit about the Centropix Cloud. The Centropix Cloud is an at-home bioresonance frequency device. With the cloud, you can protect yourself and optimize your wellness anywhere you go. It supports molecular activation, energy, endurance, performance, rapid recovery, mental acuity, stress reduction, sleep management, deep relaxation, and much more. The cloud has the most effective frequency range of any at-home bioresonance frequency device. With the cloud, you'll experience up to 20,000 amplitudes per second through 8 large coils and reach a wider molecular range in the body. Regenerate your batteries and keep your inner vital forces at full speed with the Centropix Cloud. Just visit getthefrequency.com or click the link in the description to take control of your health today. Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Machiel Klerk. First, a couple of announcements. If you want to advertise with us, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. We're doing incredible spots for our affiliates. Come check us out. Check out our website, forbiddenknowledge.news. It's also the home of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. You'll find some of your favorite podcasts from our community there. Forbidden Knowledge News is always available on Rokfin, Odyssey, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Check out Rokfin. This is where you get our premium content. You also get all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin for only $10 a month. You can also create a free account, get access to everyone's free content, including all our regular shows. Just go to rokfin.com/FKN+. That's ROKFIN.com/FKN+ to sign up now. Today I want to welcome Machiel Klerk. He is a social entrepreneur, licensed mental health therapist, international speaker, dream worker, and published author. He has been a mental health therapist since 2006 and currently has an online private practice. He has traveled all over the world and studied many cultures and their healing and dream traditions, and in specific, the African traditions, as South Africa is the country of his birth. He has given lectures, inspirational talks, and workshops for companies on creativity, innovation, and leadership. Machiel, welcome. How you doing?
I am great and excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. This is going to be great. I love the stuff you write about. We're going to be discussing how you in the audience can harness the power of your unconscious through dream incubation, which is a technique that teaches you how to access hidden wisdom that can be used for personal development, which I am all about. From personal experience, I definitely believe dreams are much more than projections of our unconscious and can have profound effects on our waking reality. If you want to call reality, whatever that is to you. But this is your first time on. Let's start with a bit about your background and what led you to research dreaming.
Well, I have always had dreams that I would take serious, even if my culture and my upbringing wasn't overly dream favorable. I had dreams that I thought that felt like they contained some information or really depicted my situation accurately. But the main period was in my early 20s. I was stuck in my life, didn't know what to do, lack of purpose, unresolved grief, sitting on the couch too much, doing nothing. And then I read the works by Cory Hughes, who opened the door to the world of dream. And I started to read that, started to apply it to my own dreams, and came to the shocking conclusion that the dreams really provided like a psychological X-ray what was going on inside of me, and both the more destructive dynamics that I was living out, as well as the direction that my own soul wanted to flow into. And by minimizing these destructive tendencies and aligning myself with the flow of life and the flow of my own soul, my life started to have purpose, meaning. I got passion back, desire, and life just transformed for the better. And not that there are not ongoing struggles on the road, but at least I have a sense of purpose and meaning, and that makes life significantly more colorful. So that is where the journey started, early 20s, and I have been hanging on to the thread of dreams ever since.
That's great. Now I want to get your insights into what you think dreams really are, beyond just what modern mainstream science has told us in the past about projections from our unconscious, and the possibilities of how we can implement what happens in our dreams into actually affecting our lives.
Well, those are some really big questions. Let me start with what a dream is. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can, you and people that watch or listen, can follow the following little experiment. Take a dream that you recently had, or another dream that is particularly vivid. So if you have one, just notice where you are, and notice whether it's light or dark. Notice if you're inside, outside. Notice whether there's an other in the dream, whether other is a person or a car or a tree. And so once you do that, you know, at least from a experiential part, that a dream is a world, an environment that you find yourself in. You were somewhere, inside, outside. Maybe you were in a field looking at trees, but you were somewhere. And so the dream is a world. And this is such a fundamental aspect, one, about what a dream is and how to work with a dream. Because and especially in the Western mind, there's very often the metaphor of the dream is a letter sent from mystery source X to you that needs to be deciphered, to be interpreted. But the dream is not a letter. The dream is a world that you find yourself in. It's almost like a better metaphor would be a virtual reality. And in this world that you are, you actually, another part is your mind is aware. So you know that there's the dream that there's a crocodile, and you decide to run. So your mind is completely active. The only thing is you're not aware that you're in the dream world. Besides a few times that you're lucid. And lucid means that you know that you're dreaming. So you're in a world, you're taking that world for real. That is how convincingly real a dream is. You don't know that it is a dream, but your mind is awake. It's just not aware. And you're having an interaction. So those are three elements about what a dream is. And that doesn't answer it necessarily from what is its purpose or what is it doing, but it sets the stage on understanding, oh, this is what my dream experience is. And in itself, that is remarkable, because we have that experience, we wake up, we tend to discard it, and then we're having a somewhat similar experience here. We're in a world, our mind is aware, somewhat awake, and we're having an interaction, and then we go to bed and we have exactly the similar experience at night in another world. Now, once we have that, I will expand on it further, but just checking in. Does it make sense so far?
Yes,
and you
it
follow
does.
me?
Yes, good. Perfect.
Okay, great. So then that allows us to take this starting point further. And what is it that? How is this dream world created? And there we can see that the dream world is created by our beliefs, our expectation, intent, willpower, focus, and mystery source X. And I borrowed these insights from Robert Wagner, a lucid dreamer who figured this out. And there's different ways of looking at it, because if you would go to the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they would say it's your karma, it's your personal and collective karma that creates this world. But this world is created partly through your own psyche in combination with something else, because we do encounter in dreams states of intelligence that are way more aware than we are. Sometimes the dream character tells us something we don't know. The dream comes with suggestions that we don't know. We might even meet an ancestor, a deceased ancestor in the dream. Those are not things that is your personal mind. That is a collective phenomenon. That is something not I. So the dream is co-created between the I mind, the personal psyche, and a mystery. Jung would call that the collective unconscious or the self. We could call it a mystery. And those two interwoven create that environment you're in. For example, if you're in a dream and you would be talking like this, and then maybe I think I'm rambling on, then I have the belief and the feeling that I'm rambling on, and that and then a character would come into the dream that embodies my feeling of rambling on and criticism. And maybe my old boss comes in, and then you would say, what do you associate to the boss? Oh, he's critical. Indeed, criticalness takes on the form and shape of the old boss. So you have these personal elements, personal symbols, figures that are created in the dream by your own feelings that take on a form and shape, just like your own expectations take on a form and shape. And the form and shape they take on is a world. They co-create the world around you. And that is how a dream gets into manifestation.
Right. Now, what would you say is the difference between just dreaming and actual astral travel?
These are different other worlds. So let's say that we call the dream is an other world. The astral travel is an other world. The out-of-body experience is a slightly different other world. The near-death experience is an other world. And they have an overlap in that these other worlds are have a lot of similar features on how they are created, how our mind and the larger mind creates these other worlds, but they're different in that a dream is a different world than an out-of-body experience. The out-of-body experience seems to mimic much closer to this reality, with some features of dreaming, where dreaming is another variation of the other world.
That makes sense. Now let's get some basics how we can kind of interpret guidance for our daily lives from our dreams.
Yeah, well, the by knowing that this world you find yourself in is a manifestation of your own personal and larger soul, you know the territory you're in, and your dream reflects back your beliefs and expectations and dynamics that you have. So in that way, the dream becomes a psychological X-ray on where you are in life, and by understanding where you are in the territory, it allows you to navigate much more optimally through the journey of life. So dreams do provide that X-ray. And what you also see is that your own soul wants to become itself. Just like the rose seed becomes a rose and the acorn becomes an oak, the human psyche has specific qualities for each individual, and those qualities want to realize themselves. And dreams pre-configure the direction that your soul is moving into. So you can look at your dreams to see, oh, the flow of my life is going into this direction. And just by aligning with the characters and the flow, you will start giving expression to what lives deep inside of you. And then you get aligned with a sense of purpose and meaning and get into the flow. And that is where dreams spontaneously can be very helpful. And dreams can, like I describe in my book, The Dream Guidance, is a lot of us have had helpful dreams, spontaneous helpful dreams. And many examples in history, how dreams have changed the course of history, where people get a song or a book idea, or I had my company, the Young Platform idea in a dream. And so people have all kinds of dreams that help them. But you don't have to wait for this helping quality from the dream to come in. You can turn towards the dream and ask it a question before you go to bed in order to trigger a dream response. And that is called dream incubation. And dream incubation is an effective technique to connect with the creative intelligence that lives inside of us or outside of us, and that wants to help us become us. And you can access that in many ways. Intuitions during the day is one way, synchronistic events is another, but it will also come in dreams. And in dreams, we can get guidance for our day-to-day life.
Well, you mentioned the dream incubation. Let's talk more about that. Could you give us some examples of how this is done and different ways that people can kind of implant these ideas in there?
Yeah, so people can ask almost any question that is relevant to their life, whether it's how can I find a partner? How can I grow my business? How can I be more loving to myself? What is one type of food that is good for me to eat? And they can bring it to the dream. And recently I had a man who had come out of a marriage, was divorced, back in the dating life, didn't flow so well. So he asked me, can we apply this technique also to find a partner? And of course, that is, if that's relevant to your heart, that's a great question. So he said, I would want to ask, how do I find a great partner? And then he pondered a bit on it and he thought, I do want to, that is really my goal. But what I maybe even more want to know is, what is my biggest obstacle in dating? Because I know there's an obstacle and I can't put the finger on it. So step one was identifying that there is a question that you want to ask. And we all carry questions. And some questions we try to push away. Should I leave this relationship, or should I leave this job, or is it the right time to jump into this business adventure? Those are actually great questions to ask. But first is you identify that there is a question that you want to ask. And then once you've identified, I want to ask a question about, like this guy, relationships, the step two is formulate a good question. And there's really a super essential element of this process is that you formulate one question at a time, open-ended, a question that is what you really want to know. Like this guy wrote down, dream, what is my biggest obstacle in my dating life? So then he went to step three, that's create a ritual. With ritual, I really mean pay some, communicate to this intelligent, wise, compassionate counselor that is on standby for all of us, that you're interested in getting an answer to your dream, to your question, and spend some time. And when I looked at all indigenous cultures and other traditions that had applied this, they all would do rituals, very often very specific rituals. And I noticed it's not so much the specificness of the ritual, but that you do something. So this man made a drawing of a heart with a question mark on it. And then he wrote to the dream things he wanted to know. And he spent some time on it. So it is that you put some time and effort and heartfelt desire to know, and let the compassionate counselor know, this is important to me. So that it's very relational. And so that is step 3. Step 4 is go to sleep, meditate briefly on your question, have the dream. And then step 5 is write down the dream upon waking, because dreams will evaporate if you don't, and then work on it. Sometimes the dream is super clear, and sometimes the answer comes from an angle you hadn't thought about. It's new to you, and you just need to let it simmer a bit, and it will reveal itself in that day or later. And so this man had the following dream. He says, in the dream, I'm driving in a car, and in front of me is another car, and I think that I'm driving in a tunnel, and I think that I see a mountain lion. When I get closer, I see a tiger. It's beautiful, but I'm really afraid for it, so I back out. He writes down the dream, and then he asks the question that I suggest is, don't ask what does it mean, but ask the question, which is fine as well, but ask the question, what is happening? And so what is happening, he described, I'm driving somewhere, then I think I see a mountain lion, it's something I'm a bit afraid of, then I see a tiger, I see something I'm afraid of, that's beautiful, and I'm afraid, and once I'm afraid, I back out. And he's like, when I go along, I get afraid, my move is backing out. That's my biggest obstacle in my dating life. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I see where that vulnerability is a challenge. And when I see a beautiful person, sometimes it's easier to ask someone else. And so that was his answer to that question. And so that's in a nutshell the 5 steps. Identify that you have a problem, write down a good, simple question, do a ritual, sleep and dream, write down step 5, write down the dream and work on it. And this is something anyone can do, whether you've never had a dream that you remember, or you're a long-time dreamer. This counselor is on standby for all of us, and this is the way to engage with it.
That is one of my biggest problems, is remembering my dreams. I have trouble remembering oftentimes. Is there any maybe tips that you know of that could help people remember their dreams?
Yes, it starts with the first simple step is get a journal and a pen and put it next to your bed. That already signals to the dream, I'm interested. And when you wake up, you have to write it down kind of immediate, because when at night your short-term memory doesn't function. So you have actually 2 hours of active dreaming, but you won't remember that you were dreaming. And your short-term memory comes back online when you wake up, but it isn't fully active yet. So it's not willpower or intelligence. It's the memory doesn't work yet. So you have to write it down. And that in itself usually helps people to get back to it. Get a pencil, paper, and write it down. And then there are things you can do on top of it. You can tell the dream before you go to bed, hey dream, I have a hard time remembering you, but I would love to connect. And I had today this conversation with this dream guy, and he told me about it, and I'm excited to be reconnecting again. So please come. And then when you wake up, even if you don't remember a dream, maybe there's a feeling. I woke up with a pit in my stomach. All right, woke up with pit in the stomach, felt this way, these were the sensations. And you say, oh, thank you, dream, you were there. I just didn't remember it all. I'll try tonight again. And then you have probably 2-3 dreams a week. And if you follow that on a daily basis, and that will give you enough information to be more guided by the creative intelligence that lies at the core of existence.
Something else I've always been super interested in, only been able to do maybe a few times that I can remember, is lucid dreaming and gaining control of my dreams in certain ways. Is there any tips that you could give us about, lucid dreaming, being able to control our dreams?
Yeah. Well, step one is start improving your dream recall. Because that will, because what you need is, in the dream, know that you're dreaming. There are a couple of ways that people can improve that. One is, in this reality, ask yourself, am I dreaming? And instead of immediately saying, oh no, this is not a dream, how do I know this is not a dream? Well, let me see. If I can push the wall, no, I cannot pull through the wall. This is dense reality or waking life. If this is a dream, I can push through the wall. And if I would do that, I would be like, whoa, I'm dreaming. And then you can do an experiment. So that is one. And people sometimes do it like every time they step through the door, a door, car door, front door at the company, wherever they are, shopping mall. You step through a door that you automatically have in your mind, am I dreaming? And you do a quick test. Can I push through my hand? No. This is not a dream. Then in a dream, you will start doing the same. You step through, either you ask yourself, hey, is this a dream? You do the test, or you step through a door and you say, is this a dream? And you think, no, this is not a dream, because dreams are really real. And then you do this and you go like, whoa, it is a dream. Oh. And I don't know what you've done. I can give some options of things to experiment, but love to hear what
the only thing that I've kind of achieved is being able to somewhat fly and realize that I was controlling it. And another one was exploring like an old mansion that I realized I was in a dream and I kind of went off on my own way. But that's the only things I really remember.
Oh, that is great. And I think that also ties back to the beginning, that you in those dreams really realize, hey, I'm in a world, I'm in a mansion, it feels real, and that for whatever it is, the dream is a world you find yourself in, and it's full of intelligence in that way. But I would advise for people, come prepared, because very often in the dream, our mind doesn't work as sharp as in this reality. So maybe you want to fly in the dream, or you can yell out, is there anyone with a message for me? And just see what happens. I had that once, and my youth hero, Johan Cruyff, a soccer player, came flying to me and said, come fly with me. And he started to show me things. Or talk to the dream characters and ask them questions as, who are you? Do you have anything to tell me? What do you want me to know? And the things they say, it's sometimes they're thought forms, they're just your personal unconscious, not very intelligent. But if they're real others, who live in the world of dream, you get answers that are mind-blowing. They tell you things you didn't know.
Right now is the most critical time for us to take back control of our food supply and become self-reliant by having our very own food forest. Transform your yard into a food forest and create a system of self-reliance that's easy and enjoyable with our friends at Food Forest Abundance. No matter where you're starting from, you can become more self-reliant. You can take your self-reliance to the next level by becoming a producer of your own food through growing and foraging. Learn how to turn your property into an income-producing source of economic self-reliance. If you're ready to go off-grid, Click the link in the description and use coupon code FORBIDDEN for discounts on your very own food forest with Food Forest Abundance.
And
that's what I want to get to next, is these entities or intelligences that reside in our dreams that seem to know things that we ourselves didn't know before, or seem to give us profound information or insights about our lives. Do you think that these are actually other types of intelligences that's the world they live in, or could it be like a form of collective egregores or thought forms, or something different? What are your thoughts?
Well, my assumption, what I think is they're not me. They know things that I don't know. They can know things that happen in the future somewhere else. They come up with solutions I haven't thought about. So I don't think it's I. And I think I've, like my youth hero Johan Cruyff, who came flying to me, really started showing me things that I didn't know about, and he gave me an instruction that was just baffling to me. So I think we encounter beings in that world who are sometimes more aware than us. Not infrequently, they're more aware, and they have a certain intelligence, and they tell us things that we don't know, and they can show us things. And my assumption is that they live there, or maybe they move through different realms, that they also live in the out of body realm, but they live in the other world. Mm-hmm. And that also comes back to one of the oldest ideas that mankind has, is that we come into the world with a guiding spirit. A spirit that knows who we are and what the purpose is of being in this world, as if we have a task to accomplish. And in the Greek tradition, this is called the daimon, Daimon, or in the Roman tradition, it's called the genius. It comes from the North African word genie, the spirit who is already there. And some indigenous Africans call it the divine twin. Current day uses very often something as the spirit guide. And this figure lives in the world of dream, in the other world, lives and accompanies us throughout life, and talks to us, and is on standby and wants to help us. And probably some of our intuitions and feelings come from this character. But in the dream, or in the lucid dream, we can directly engage with this character for support and guidance in our life. And so if for anyone that becomes lucid tonight or in the next little while, you can yell out, I would love to meet one of my spirit guides that would be helpful for me to meet. And then either they step forward most of the time, or if they don't, they just feel it's not the right time to engage. And then you do just another experiment. But that way you have a direct experience with these characters, and then maybe also come prepared. Tell it, thank you so much for helping me. I appreciate all the effort you put into keeping me on the path. And again, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything you want to tell me? Have a conversation with this figure, and your life you will have just this life-changing, mind-blowing experience that will change your life forever.
Yeah, there's so many, there seems, benefits that you can achieve through engaging with your dreams. One of the things you write about is how to nurture and build a relationship with your soul through dream work. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that we all have a soul, and the little soul is connected to the larger soul, a little bit like we are a wave on the ocean, and the wave is made of the same substance as the ocean, and technically there's no difference. Just this is a wave, and this wave, and maybe the foam on top is this eye, and the rest of the wave is our personal unconscious, our soul, and is attached to the larger soul of the ocean. And in dreams, we get in touch with our soul, and not unlike with the spirit guides or the diamond or the genius. And the soul is the core of who we are and what we're about to become. And it expresses itself in dream, and it gives directions, and it shows what doesn't go, what can be different, and how we can get further, and comes with advice. But we can proactively nurture that relationship, and we can in this reality already start saying, soul, I'm interested in giving more expression to you. And tonight in the dream, please show me one thing that I should focus upon right now to bring you into the world in a more beautiful, interesting way. And then you will have a dream that shows what your soul thinks that the best next step is for you. And sometimes it's a little step that you need to take. Sometimes it's a big step, but it knows best. And it gives advice that's really in your best interest. So dreams are an expression of your soul, and the soul is there really to help you, and you can connect through it in your dreams. And in this dream incubation, you can ask it a question, and people can ask it anything that is relevant to their life. So if you ask, what did my neighbor have for dinner last night? Your soul is like, not interesting. But if you say, how can I be a better partner? How can I be more loving? What's going on between me and this person? How can I solve my health issue? Which a lot of people also do. I recently had a person who had tremendous pain in his stomach, and had going on for weeks. And then one evening, it was so terrible that he woke up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, went through the process. Of course, he knew his question, asked, what is going on for me? Did a little ritual, went to bed, and had the following dream. And in the dream, he is first he is sitting at a table, and he's talking to someone with a cabbage as a head, and the person is sweating profoundly. And then he is talking to someone at the table who says, who's also not feeling well, says, "Oh, I had a fermented hamburger," and then he left there, and he went to a place where there were a restaurant, and they had some eggs. And then he decided that the eggs were not, he wanted to have the eggs. And then he woke up, and he thought, these three foods, the fermented of the cabbage, the fermented hamburger, and the eggs are maybe not so good for me. And so he stopped eating all fermented food, no more cabbage, no more eggs, and the pain in the stomach disappeared within days. And so the dream is interested also in helping on these medical problems.
Now, how far do you think that can go? Do you think this is a form of a placebo or something more that's actually affecting our biology?
Well, both. Placebos do affect our biology, and placebo is really you take either an innate substance, or you have a sham surgery, and you get healed, you get better. And then the question becomes, what is it that triggers this healing response? Because it's not the surgery and the substance. And what it really is this is the same reality creating principles that you can learn in the dream. Namely, it's your expectation, belief, intent, reaching out to something larger, focus, and the mystery source X. Yes. And that creates healing. So you can apply this method of asking your dream for help also in this reality. It's just that dreams are when you're in the dream state, you seem to be in a frequency that is easier to access that information or get healing, but it applies also to this reality. And Placebo's work based on creating a great ritual, because you just go through a whole ritual of going to the hospital, getting this sham surgery, and then you can walk again. And it's of course a miracle, but your own body healed itself by you aligning with it in a certain way that would trigger this healing response. And part of that is the ritual combined with these psychological reality creating principles.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about those rituals. How can people develop these, and what exactly are you meaning by rituals to engage your soul in your dreams?
Yeah, a ritual is, how I see it, any form in which you grind this reality and get yourself in a space where the other world can flow in. So I think that you have this world, but that coexisting is the world of out-of-body experiences, the dream world, the near-death experiences. These are just different states of consciousness or different worlds coexisting. They exist next to each other or interwoven in each other. And we live in this world that is rather dense. Therefore, I call it often dense reality. And dense reality, if you want to grind it open, you get that dreaming consciousness that comes in. And the dreaming consciousness contains the healing powers and the creative powers. And you want to have that into your world. And you do that by lighting a candle, doing a song, a prayer, and anything that has to do with, or a dance, that you become a little bit less dense in this reality. You open up so that the flow of life can come in. When the flow of life comes in, placebo can happen, dream responses come, you become more creative, your intuition becomes better, you're more attuned to synchronicities, because the very focused, driven mind is not so open to the other world. So a ritual is not like you have to do candle first, then these 4 steps, then sing this song. But it is just, you do something that spontaneously comes to you. And you can use these classic ingredients like making a libation, lighting a candle, doing a prayer. But then think about what would work for you. And if you have an illness, you might make a drawing, and that's how you feel and where you want to go. Or I know a painter who put a blank canvas next to his bed as a ritual to get inspiration for painting. A writer who got stuck in a story just put printed out the chapter that he was stuck and put it under his pillow. Those are personalized rituals, and people can do almost anything. Can be a ritual if you put your heart and focus and awareness in it as a way to open up to the other world. Does that make yeah?
Yes. And I want to go back to the intelligences that we interact with at times. Many times people interact with deceased loved ones or deceased friends and ancestors. Do you think that these are actually the essence or spirit or soul of the ancestors, or something else we've created?
I think that sometimes we see an ancestor that is the personal mind creating that person. That happens. You sit somewhere, and somewhere in the restaurant is Uncle Joe. But then there's also many people report to have experiences that they said, I met Mom, and Mom had the most amazing dress, and I felt this was Mom. And they very often profound impact on a person's life. And I've had those dreams that I was convinced this is the essence, this is the spirit of my father or my grandfather or my aunt coming to visit me in the dream space. And those dreams usually had a different quality, what Jung would call a numinosity, a certain intensity, and almost a bit of a sacredness to it, where I would meet these characters. And many people have had that, and I don't know if you feel that you've met your ancestors.
I have met what I believe to be spirit guides, possibly ancestors, and my grandmother one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think that most people have had, or I know that most people have had such an experience in their life. And of course, it always remains, was it really Uncle Joe? Was it really my dad? And I think that the only real answer there is, did it give you the impression that it was that way? Scientifically, we can probably not answer that. Even if they tell us sometimes information that we don't know, you can find other explanation models. But there, I think, trust yourself. Did it feel like a real visitation? I would go with it. I do in my life.
Do you think that we would have to ever worry about negative entities actually having an effect on us in these realms?
Well, I was born in South Africa, so I visited a lot the South African indigenous healers, and there it's very much a common understanding that some spirits are benign and some are more dark, and you need to be a bit careful, and especially when people do activities that aren't really positive, like maybe excessive drinking or addiction or stealing. It looks like they're opening up to spirits coming in that aren't in your best interest. And but we also could meet, just like in this reality, figures that aren't in our best interest, whether they're jealous or they want to do excessive drugs or want us to do commit fraud or whatever they wanted to do. Also in the other world, there appears to be once in a while a figure that isn't helpful. But what is the best protection is try to live an life that is in alignment with your soul. Then there's not much. They bounce off of that. There's not much to get there. But when we're in a place where we're wounded or we're really jealous or super hateful, we seem to be getting in frequencies where we start meeting like-minded, more malicious entities.
And when you look into the world of things and entities we can contact in these different realms, one of the things that comes up, especially for me with a lot of guests I've had, is what they call extraterrestrial abduction or contact experiences. And these seem to be happening lots of times in either a dream state or some sort of astral type of realm, or not this reality where they're being either taken to or they somehow end up there in their dreams. And it's mixed experiences. Some of them are very transformative spiritual experiences that the people come back and they make their lives better, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. And some of them are quite terrifying, where they feel like they're being experimented on and things are taken from their body and all kinds of strangeness. What is your thoughts on that whole phenomena?
Well, it's clear that these experiences happen to people, and that they seem to get in touch with the other world or the other worlds. And that whether it's the dream world or an other world where they are transported out of this reality somewhere else. They were driving the car, 2 hours later, they find themselves standing beside the road, and they remember being abducted in a spaceship, having had this experience. And what it mimics or has some structure of is these otherworldly journeys that you sometimes see in the more shamanic tradition, where a figure is somewhat initiated into the understanding that there is more than this world, that there is another world that is inhabited by beings that have an autonomy of their own, have an intelligence of their own. And sometimes that is, like with the shaman, is somewhat benign. And other times they get broken open, and it's a rather painful exercise. They will be put back together usually, and then they're here again. And but it has somewhat of an initiation into the other world and the existing of an other world, and their life is never the same anymore. They know in their own being there's more than this world. There are other worlds with figures in it that exist.
Yeah, that's one of the most fascinating, incredible aspects of it. I want to get your take on shared dreams, if this is possible, and if you've kind of documented or heard anything about this.
Yes, I have not that many, but the most remarkable one I once heard was someone was telling their colleague, "Hey, I saw you yesterday in my dream. We were at an amusement park, and we were in a roller coaster." And the colleague was like, "What? I saw you in the dream. You were sitting in front of me." And the other was, "What? You were sitting behind me."
Wow.
Yeah. So that is wild.
Yeah.
And I know from people who have become lucid in the dream, and who have done experiments in. So you become lucid, you're dreaming, and then let's say that you and I would agree on this tonight. If we become lucid, we'll visit each other. And so I would say, I want to visit your dream, give you a signal, like I'm doing this, and then the next day I would say, do you remember seeing me? And if so, was there anything that I did? And so if people put up these types of experiments with very high correlation, or people were accurately able to say, "Oh yeah, I saw you. You did this." And especially if they both get lucid at the same time, it's much easier to remember. But so people seem to be able to do that. There's anecdotal evidence. And I think if you take that metaphor of we're all waves attached to the ocean, that we share this collective space, and that we are able to visit each other in the dream space.
Well, aren't they doing some fascinating experiments at places like the Monroe Institute with things like this? Not only dreams, but shared astral experiences and out-of-body experiences and things like that?
Yeah, I don't know much about what they do, but I've read about it, and that they have some really interesting, credible data to show that this is that some people that this is possible in some people. And to me, it makes all the sense of the world. I believe there's a collective unconscious that we can be in each other's dreams.
Now, one of the other things that prevents people from either remembering dreams or even having dreams is not reaching that state of sleep, that REM sleep state, to where you can actually experience this. And, I have trouble sleeping at times myself. Is there any advice you can give people about this?
Well, you probably still have dreams. They also happen outside of the REM sleep, but there's by far, if you wake people up, they always say, "Yes, I was in a dream," and the most intense dreams are there. In ability to sleep, it depends a little bit what causes a person to wake up. And what sometimes have helped is just to see, what do I wake up to? So, I wake up to the thought that I need to do something, or that I need to that I'm anxious about X, Y, and Z, or at once at 3 a.m. I have some catastrophic thinking about, oh, I did this and horrible that I did that. Just write it down in a little notebook at that moment to say, okay, dream of waking up. I'm waking up to, I need to do the following things. I need to check my tax, and I need to check the car and call mom. And then just say, tomorrow morning, the first thing I will do is I will spend some time on it. It's almost like the soul wanted you to work on it. And at 3 a.m., you're most liable to hear the whispers of your soul. And so then it comes in. And if you say, okay, I'm going to work on it the next day, and then you have to follow through on it, something in you knows, I've been heard, I've been listened to, the message came through. It brings the anxiety down, and we can usually sleep further. And we can apply that then. If the next night you wake up again, you just go through the same procedure till your soul knows, hey, I'm being listened to. I don't need to bother them. He's following through. He's listening better to the intuitions throughout the day. And that helps. Of course, there are more reasons why people wake up to the night. But this is a big one.
Yeah. Now, I have a couple of personal experiences that really stuck with me that I want to get your take on. One of them was I'm dreaming, and I was sleeping next to one of my ex-girlfriends at the time. And in my dream, it was a pretty terrifying dream. There was a home invasion, and I'm being tied up, and she's there with me, and she's being tied up. And all of a sudden, it's like they were grabbing these huge vats of water and started pouring it on us. At the same time they started pouring these vats of water on us, my girlfriend accidentally spilled her drink all over my head. And it was like this amazing type of chain of reaction from my dream to the time I wake up, terrified, soaking wet, like not knowing if this is reality, what's going on. But it was such a strong correlation to what was happening in my dream, to the water hitting my face. I found it pretty profound. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what they've done some research on is infuse certain experiences in people's environment. For example, they would put people in a sleep laboratory to sleep, dream, and then put in a certain smell, or start heating the room up, or making it very cold. And sometimes the dream would start incorporating that. So let's say you would put a smell of smoke. Then at once the dream would start creating a situation where maybe the kitchen was on fire. And so the dream does seem to take into account external circumstances. So one variation with your dream could be the moment she poured it on you, your dream immediately makes this flood in your dream.
Right. It was as she was pouring the water, it started to form this dream. But in my dream, it seemed like it was a longer length of time than actually, occurred with a split second of water.
Yeah. So that is it. That is one way. Of course, it could be that your dream was by chance, or no. Probably your dream would know what your girlfriend was doing. You were dreaming this, and independent of that happened. It would be a curiosity. Of course, the dream is capable of doing that. So it could that it mimicked those two processes happened independently and merged in terms of meaning. Research has shown that the first variation does happen, which could make sense. It could also happen independently, where there's more synchronistic event. And the dream somehow knew what was about to happen and anticipated it.
Yeah, one of the more common things is hearing the telephone ring, and it'll ring in my dreams, or they'll leave the TV on in the background, and I'll start dreaming about the movie that's on, and I'll be in the movie and stuff. So that's a good one.
Yeah, great. And that is not unlike the technique of dream incubation. What you have there is like, oh, the movie's playing, and then your own dreaming will pick up on the theme. And what you were thinking of or were influenced by, you start dreaming about.
Yeah.
And that is where the ritual also comes from. You put pressure and focus on, I want to have an answer to what's my biggest block in my dating life. And then that moves into your dream. And the more you put focus on it, that's the ritual, the more likely it will go into your dream. And the more likely your dream will give you an answer. But yeah, funny is how that happens. I've heard people read the book, fall asleep, finish the book, were excited about it, and then notice that it was a completely different ending than the real book.
Oh, that's a good one. Wow. Yeah, man, I love this. This is fascinating stuff. I want to close on this. I want to get your thoughts on sleep paralysis and some of the things that can occur during these instances. For me, I had sleep paralysis for a period of 2 or 3 years back in, it was a pretty dark time in my life. I wasn't in the best place. I was going through a divorce and wasn't sleeping well. But when I did sleep, I would experience these bouts of paralysis where I couldn't move, trying to get up, and then these kind of shadow figures would start surrounding me or be walking in my room. I could see them passing, and I'd hear loud banging noises that I couldn't do anything about, just all kinds of creepy stuff until I just finally break out of whatever it was. What is your insights into this?
Yeah. It's a somewhat rare, but also common experience. And what happens is when we fall asleep and we dream, usually our body gets paralyzed, so that we don't act out. You see people move around, but we don't flap around or fight off the monsters while asleep. So your body gets paralyzed. And then we wake up, and sometimes we wake up and then the body is still paralyzed, and that is sleep paralysis. And it almost always goes between 30 seconds and 3 minutes. It goes away. So it's completely harmless. It's a natural phenomenon. There's not any person in the world that had this and was paralyzed for life. And so if people know, hey, this is and my body's still asleep, and usually you can start wiggling your fingers, and then you come back to life. There's one way of being with it. And then the other thing that, like you noted, and so many people have that, is, hey, I start seeing these darker characters in the room, and it appears that there's some overlap of the dreaming consciousness flowing into this reality. It's like these worlds are merged, and for some reason it is more often a darker content that people see. If you're really lucid at that moment, you could even say, who are you? What are you doing here? What do you want? Do you have anything to tell me? You could ask and see what happens. It's not they can't literally harm you. You'll wake up and you'll be fine. There's this overlap of states of consciousness that are blending, and it takes a couple of minutes for that to go away.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And the overlap also occurs from dream states and sleep paralysis to people who have experienced astral travel or out-of-body experience. I heard have also encountered these beings when they would pop out of their body. They'd see them, standing there where they would be if you had sleep paralysis when they pop out of their body and see them. And usually it's not a pleasant experience when they first encounter them.
Yeah. It's in sleep paralysis, it's usually that way. Probably what my experience is with the out of body experiences is it also reflects a bit a person's state of mind where they are at that moment. Some people who feel in a better state usually have fewer of those experiences. So your own place reflects a bit what you see. But I know people, but that doesn't explain why in sleep paralysis it is more often dark. Maybe also we're quickly afraid for it. It turns them more dark.
Yeah, I love this, man. I could talk about this stuff all day. Now, before you head out, for the audience that is interested in learning about how to harness the power of their dreams and engage with them, what's the best way for them to find out more about your work and what you're offering?
Well, I wrote a book titled Dream Guidance that people can purchase on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. There's a website called bookdepository.com that delivers books for free all around the world. So no matter where you are, if Amazon or Barnes and Noble isn't there, and it's a great way of where I teach this 5 steps, how to do it, create a question, the rituals, and how to work with the answer. And besides that, I started a company called the Jung Platform, Jung Platform.com, based out of a nighttime dream, where we provide programs on Jungian and soul psychology, from shadow work, synchronicity, archetypes, to Tibet dream work, shamanism. We have 150 programs there, so for everyone something, and or visit my personal website, which is the most difficult of them all. It's my name, machielklerk.com. Maybe you can put it in the footnotes. It's MACH. Okay, great. Let's have people go there. But if people type in dream guidance, they probably already get to me because that's my book and that will lead there. But machielklerk.com will get you to all the services that I offer, and the dream work and therapy and the Jung Platform.
Perfect. Yes, I'll definitely have all those notes in the description so people can just easily click that and go visit your site. Machiel, thank you so much. This was fantastic. I'd love to definitely talk with you again in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate your energy and your inquisitive mind, and it made it a joy to be with you.
Wonderful. I look forward to the next time. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. See y'all then.